To the auto bailout now. It failed in the Senate. The White House this morning says it's now possible to use some of the $700 billion approved earlier this year and intended for financial institutions. Some critics of the bailout say just let the big three go bust. What really would happen if they did indeed go bankrupt? James Rosen is in D.C. for us on this. James, the automakers have said very clearly bankruptcy would be, using that word, would be like kryptonite to car buyers.
Well, that's true. The automakers, Jane, and the auto workers unions say that studies have been done showing that psychologically customers attach a stigma to bankrupt companies and won't buy from them. Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois, a Democrat and a bailout supporter, said recently that he and his wife just purchased a Ford and would like to know for certain that they can get that vehicle serviced in 2 years if necessary. But we spoke with a conservative legal analyst who argues the automakers' precarious finances are already known all across America and that they can take other steps to reassure nervous consumers.
They can offer third-party warranties, they can provide insurance guarantees, they can take steps that make it so that whether or not the automaker continues to exist has nothing to do with the quality of their cars or how long they're serviced.
I asked Mr. Grossman there if he would buy a car from a company that had recently been declared bankrupt, and he said he would if it had the proper guarantees. Jane.
James, we use the term Chapter 11 so freely. What exactly, though, does it mean? What does it involve?
This is Chapter 11 of the relevant U.S. statutory code. This is not something we read to children at night, though it might actually have the desired effect. Chapter 11 basically enables a corporation to declare itself bankrupt and allow a special trustee who is appointed by the U.S. courts and entrusted with broad powers to work with that company to reorganize itself so that it can begin paying off the folks to whom this company owes money. Usually creditors like banks get paid off first, and then when those debts are paid off, the stockholders who own the company start to get paid back. Firms that are under Chapter 11 can continue to sell stock on the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange, but those shares are usually devalued, and typically they become the property of those creditors and those bondholders, Jane.
One last question for you, James. Chapter 11 has been used successfully by a lot of big businesses. Any reason to think that it wouldn't work in the case of automakers?
The automakers make that argument, but there is a precedent for very large companies on the scale of the automakers successfully using Chapter 11. In fact, it's like a who's who of corporate America. Continental Airlines has declared bankruptcy twice, and it's now considered one of the healthiest airlines in that struggling industry. Delta and U.S. Air have both burrowed their noses into Chapter 11 and emerged from it strong enough at least to take over some competitors. We can list a whole bunch of others, Jane. Kmart, Chiquita, Winn-Dixie, Dow Corning, Trump Hotels and Casinos. It is a regular party and not necessarily a death sentence.
James Rosen in D.C. for us.